Down the corner down here.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Welcome back for our post-Shavuot learning. Last time we were in the middle of a very short passage here, which is in Perek Zayin, which is chapter 7, and in the subsection 2, 3, and so it's 7:3, chapter 7, passage 3. We're talking about the power of even the thoughts of tshuva before things become actually necessarily implemented in actuality with one's behavior, but even the thought of tshuva, the inner resolve. I want to change. I don't want to be the way I am right now. I want to move on. So that itself has a tremendous impact upon the person. And what we had said last time, we'll just read the first few words because we only read about 10 words last time. When one has thoughts of tshuva, it's an amazing idea. You know what really is happening? A person hears Kol Hashem. Help me translate this. Kol Hashem. Kol.
Oh, it's the voice of Hashem.
Good. Thank you. Voice of Hashem. Hakorei Elav. Which is doing what? Hakorei. Good. Calling Elav to him. Beautiful. We passed upon this morning. So this is a fantastic idea. You know, when a person wants to do tshuva, so you know who's really speaking to us? Hashem. It's that the divine voice in us that's saying, shuv, 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 return, return, return. And Rav Kook in other places talks about this is the source of when a person feels what he calls yisurei matzpun, the pangs of conscience. Person feels guilt, right? All the jokes about Jewish guilt, I guess jokes are a joke, but there's truth to it, and it's not neurotic. Right? We can ask Dr. Koff over here, especially now he's retired, he can write a book now. You thought about that?
The healing powers of Jewish guilt.
That is amazing title. Seriously, this is not a joke. Okay, we're going to plan it out on Friday night. So the conscience, right? That's the divine voice, which is saying return, return, return. So when one has thoughts of tshuva, I really need to lose weight. I wish I could lose weight, or I wish I could be healthier. I wish I could be a better spouse or a better father, or a more conscientious employee, or whatever it may be. That's the divine voice, which is calling within us, saying, return, return, return. Mitoch, Rav Kook was on Mitoch HaTorah, Mitoch Kol Risha Alev, Mitoch Olam Lo V'Chol Asher Bam. Now, Rav Kook also says something else. I think people can understand this idea that divine voice calls from us within our soul. But I guess you have to be a certain level of spirituality to accept that. But then Rav Kook goes on, he says the following, that, that divine voice calls from us, not just from the heart. It calls Mitoch HaTorah, from the Torah. When one is learning Torah, they're leaping off the page, off those letters, the ink which is printed on the paper is a voice that is calling forth from those letters, return, 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 return. And then Rav Kook says, Mitoch HaOlam, from the world, Umlo'o, and its fullness, V'Chol Asher Bam, and everything within it. You take a walk down the street, and what you see around you inspires one to do tshuva. So tshuva speaks from within the heart, that voice, that divine voice saying, return, return, return. It speaks from the Torah we learn, return, return, return. And it speaks from the world, the bunny rabbit over there. That is not a metaphor. For those of you who don't know about this campus over here, it's a regular zoo here. Okay, a beautiful tree, the birds. You take a ride on the American River Bike Trail, and the voice comes forth: return, return, return. Now here Rav Kook goes on. He says, "V'cheshek hatov holechu mitgaber b'kirbo," and the desire for good continually becomes more empowered within him. That's the beginning. The desire for good, and that desire for good increases. Like I think almost like an appetite. The appetite for good. How about that? The appetite for good. V'basar ba'atzmo hagorem et hachet holechu mitaden. and the flesh itself, which is the cause of sin, it becomes refined. This is an amazing idea, because we often think about a kind of dichotomy between the soul and the flesh. You know, I want to change, but the flesh is weak. You hear that expression, the flesh is weak. So Rav Kook says that this sort of oppositional way we think of the relationship with body and soul doesn't have to be that way. That this divine voice that calls from within us, that says, return, 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 that the thought of tshuva, it can be so powerful that it can actually, over time, even refine the body. So it's not that the flesh is weak, that the flesh becomes refined. The flesh becomes refined. Ad she'or hatshuva choder bo, and that the light of tshuva can actually penetrate into the body itself, rather than causing the body to submit and say, "Uncle, I give up." But that the body itself becomes refined. The light of tshuva radiates through the body itself. Okay, let's read on just a little bit more. We'll go now to this little section number 4. Everybody see that? Or subsection 4? Okay. Let's talk a little bit more about just thoughts of tshuva. What are thoughts of tshuva expressing? What's the power of thoughts of tshuva? Rav Kook says the thoughts of tshuva reveal the depths of will. Okay, so let's just talk about what he means here. Now, it came up over Shavuot multiple times in questions people asked and are learning all night long. It was a beautiful experience. And again, thank you, Dr. Koff. It was really, really very nice and very inspiring. I was inspired by it. So we had some discussion, if people remember, the conflict between a more mystical approach, Kabbalistic approach, versus a more rational approach. And it touches on a lot of nerves, like the Rambam versus Ramban, mystic versus rationalist, etc. It's a sensitive issue. People really do get pushed out of shape on this issue. I hope I didn't offend too many people. So I'd like to read for you a Rambam. You don't have it in front of you. You just listen. This is the Rambam. Now, the Rambam, if one had to think of, if I use the expression, an arch rationalist, the Rambam was probably the most, the height of non-Kabbalistic approach towards things. He never, ever quotes sources that we think of as being Kabbalistic sources. And when he does speak about certain things that we might associate as being Kabbalah, he actually doesn't think too highly of that approach. He talks about sometimes Islamic mysticism, and this is not his approach whatsoever. And but listen to this. He says the following: Yesod ha-Yesodot. This is the Rambam in his law code, the Mishneh Torah. We also mentioned this yesterday. People think that his law code, the Mishneh Torah, is a dry law code, and only in the Guide for the Perplexed is the philosophy. It happens to completely not be true. So in the law code itself, he has tremendous amount of philosophy. This is from his law code. In the laws of the fundamental ideas of Torah, Hilchot Yesodei HaTorah, the fundamental law principles of the Torah, it says the following: Yesod ha-Yesodot, the most fundamental principle of all fundamental principles, V'amud ha-Chachamot, and the pillar upon all which wisdom stands, is the following. I bet you want to know. Would you like to know? The pillar of pillars, it's the following: Leidat, to know. Sheyesh sham mitzui rishon, that there is a first cause. There's a first cause. V'hu mamtzi kol nimtza, and it brings into being everything that exists. V'chol nimtzaim mishamayim v'aretz, and everything that exists in the heavens and the earth. Umashu beinehem, which is between them, meaning everything, the entire cosmos. Lo nimtzeu ele me'amitat himatzo, only exists out of the truth of his existence. That first cause. That there is a first cause. You got to capitalize first and cause. right? The divine first cause. That nothing exists if it were not for that first cause, that divine, the divine. If you could imagine that God didn't exist, nothing would exist. Now that sounds almost Kabbalistic. We've talked a lot about this idea of everything coming into existence through its root in the divine. And if God were to like get distracted for a second and think about American politics, right? All of a sudden, everything else would disappear because God got distracted and wasn't willing into existence. That's a Kabbalistic idea we've talked about a real lot. The Rambam says here, the Rambam, the arch rationalist, says that everything exists only because of divine existence. Okay, now that's what Rav Kook calls Ratzon. It's the divine will which is causing us to come into existence at every single moment. Now, what happens is that when we have a will to do tshuva, when we wake up in the morning and say, I really should lose weight, be a better person, be healthier, whatever, you name it, all the different types of tshuva that we can do, guess what that's doing? That's revealing the divine will. The divine will, which is causing everything to come into being, propelling everything forward towards perfection. When we have feelings that we want to move closer to perfection, that is channeling. You could use that kind of a word that's used nowadays. We're channeling the divine will. We've become a kind of musical instrument upon which is playing. We're like a harp that the divine will is strumming the strings of the harp. Okay, we're channeling the divine will when we have the will to do tshuva. Okay, let's go on. And the power of the neshama is revealed through those thoughts of tshuva in all fullness of their grandeur. So let's talk here about Rav Kook is using a word gvura. Gvura. What's gvura mean? Yeah, strength, power. The Rav Kook is saying here something amazing, that the soul has something called gvura, power. And the thoughts of tshuva are an expression of that gvura. And there's nothing stronger in the world than the power, the strength, the might to improve. Muhammad Ali thinks that he was the champ because he was right. He could beat people up. Okay, so there's a stronger might, the might of the will. Now, Rav Kook used to say, "Ein davar omed bifnei haratzon." Nothing can withstand the power of ratzon. I want this. I want to improve. No excuses. Nothing can stand in its way. Okay, it can overpower everything. In other words, remember we talked about the divine voice, which is speaking through our souls. It can't be shut up. You can't shut it up. It will constantly say, grow, grow, change, become more refined, become more holy. And it cannot be silenced. Return. Shuv in Hebrew, shuv. It has tremendous gvura, power. Ulefi godlo shel tshuva, kachi midat hacherut shela. And in accordance with the power of that voice, that tshuva voice that resides within us, so too is the aspect of freedom. So let's talk about this for a second. See, Rav Kook says, you know what the ultimate freedom is? The ultimate freedom is when we are able to give expression to that divine voice within us. This is a famous, beautiful idea. It's such a good Shavuot idea, right on past Shavuot. You know, there's a very, very famous passage in in Pirkei Avot, where based upon the fact that the 10 Commandments are engraved in stone, right? So the word in the Torah that says they're engraved, right, is charut ala luchot. Charut means to be engraved on the tablets. So our sages say, al tikra charut ala cherut. Don't read it charut, engraved, but cherut, freedom. Because when we give that divine will the ability to express itself, we're truly free. Who is the one who is most enslaved? That we have surrendered to the most base instincts. That's a slave. And anybody who's worked, Dr. Koff, I don't know if you in your career dealt with addiction at all. There's no slavery bigger than that. Would you agree with that? No slavery bigger than that. And the freedom of being able to give voice to divine aspiration, right? That's freedom. That's the ultimate freedom. So that's where Rav Kook says, to the extent that we can give expression to the power, the gvura of that divine voice that says, return, 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 to that extent is the experience of freedom that we can have. Okay, we'll pause here and we'll go on Bezrat Hashem tomorrow with subsection Hey 5 in chapter 7.